Ducati Manchester Group.
Well, good morning. Welcome to a beautiful, fresh, mid-March spring morning in Scotland. 3 degrees, so a little bit chilly. I've got Pippa the dog there, who always wants to play ball when she lets me have it. But I thought I would just give you a bit of a walk around my DesertX, which I registered from Ducati Glasgow in early September 21. So it's the white bike that was the launch edition. But as you can see as we walk around, got quite a few accessories fitted on it from the Ducati performance range, so talk you through those and just talk about how I use the bike really, and kind of why I ride it, why I have it. I've kept multistradas since 2010. I've had all the models in the V2 range, and then more latterly the V4. Yeah, I should also say I'm experimenting with my new GoPro Hero 11 Black edition. So I've just worked out that the screensaver on the back screen was going off after a minute, so didn't know what I was filming. But I do now because I fixed it. So here we are back with the bike. So yeah, so I kept those multistradas, and I've done them, used them for commuting. The preference to a car really, through a lot of the year, well the spring and the summer and autumn of the year. I've just found them to be an amazing bike, loads of features, loads of capability. Touring as well, scratching with your mates, kind of does all sorts really. Just means that you've got the flexibility of being able to travel a distance. So I've always enjoyed the multistrada. So when the DesertX came along, I suppose what grabbed me immediately was just how striking I thought it looked. As everyone says who owns one or looks at one or reviews one on the YouTube, they've got that amazing Dakar feel. If you are old enough to remember the 80s and 90s, the Cagiva Elephant with the Ducati 900 engine. And I was lucky enough to go to Italy, to the museum, and see one of the original bikes. So you can see all the styling cues and how they've brought all those to life, you know, in a modern rendering. So it's super cool to look at, and it's kind of amazing to ride. So I'll tell you a little bit about kind of how I ride it and how I use it. Probably only a fraction of its capabilities, but it does for me everything I'm looking for from this type of bike. When Ducati launched the bike, there were those amazing videos of professional riders stripping the sand dunes, and when you look on forums or Facebook groups or YouTube videos, you can see the amazing capability this bike has off-road, and is really fusing a road bike with an off-road bike, you know, in a really fun way. And that's for people who really like that sort of thing, and you know, good riders. Truthfully, I'm probably not one of those. So mainly a road rider, but up here in Scotland there's a lot of minor roads, roads that go over mountains, farm areas with cattle grids, a lot of greasy surfaces, shale and gravel spilling over from the side of the road, and this bike just inspires confidence wherever you ride it. So unlike on a sports bike or a super naked, where you maybe a bit nervous around some of the bends. This thing, through a combination of its chassis, suspension setup and the tyres, and that giant 21-inch front wheel, just eats up anything that rural riding can throw at it. And again, if you've watched other videos, you'll know just how amazing its general on-road manners are. So for me, this makes a really capable and compelling bike to ride day in, day out, whatever the occasion requires. So I'm a bit of a sucker for the performance parts catalogue at Ducati, so we'll go through some of those, see what's fitted to this bike. Certainly whenever I'm sat with Simon or Raymond in the Glasgow dealership, they always get me to tick a few boxes, and there's no exception here. I suppose just in terms of the overall look of the bike first, they come white, I mean like really white, kind of blank canvas white. There's also the black, grey and red edition for 22, which is lovely. But this is how they first came, and you can see that that's been embellished a bit by some sticker action here and here with these 950 Dream Wilder stickers, and across the tank there, and just on the back. Now, you know, these won't be to everybody's taste, of course, I get that, but you know, when you look again online on the forums, people have done some beautiful paint jobs, wraps and sticker sets on these bikes that evoke sometimes the historic racing or just sort of cool graphics. And that's the amazing thing about the bike. I think you can customise it, personalise it. It's probably one of the few Ducatis that sort of almost begs you to do that. The more accessories the better, and it makes everyone individual, and you kind of really know that you're riding your bike. So beyond the stickers, we've got the tall screen, just a bit more wind protection, and particularly with the accessory bar, which I'll come to in a minute, just gives a bit more protection on that. You've got the headlight protection. Something I always go for is front fork protection, and again engine bars with spotlights, which you activate from a button on the dash. Embellished or improved, enhanced bash plate, which will have a lot of functional use, but just kind of, I think, looks cool. I don't know why I ended up with a red oil plug cover, but that made it in. I suppose the main thing for me is the system. Termignoni, lovely to see those on some of the Ducati bikes still, as well as the Krapovic. The Pippa the dog likes it too. And I've, you know, cheekily removed the baff. Well, I say, when it comes out ever so easy, it's not a big thing, but the noise it makes is unbelievable. Not just on improving the boom and the rhythm of a Ducati twin, it's 937cc twin, that you get across the range now on various of the Ducati bikes like the Monster and the Hypermotard, but also on the pop and bang on Overrun. It's you know, really a joy. Whether it's a joy for all the other road users, well, we'll have to see, but it certainly makes the bike, you know, sound fun as well as ride fun. And then we've got tail tidy, just changes the angle of the extension from the rear fender. I guess that's to do with, actually, for ground clearance. You can see my number there, which is a nod to Route 66, which I did with my father and my brother in 2016 from Chicago to LA. A memorable holiday for the boys. Anyway, I've put that registration plate on a number of bikes since I came back. Puts a smile on my face. I've gone with rear luggage here. I put my lid in this. I put my computer if I'm travelling to work, bits and bobs. I find it really important to have that facility. I had it on the multistradas. There was a lot of discussion early on when we were speccing the DesertX about whether to get the rear fuel tank or not, because it looks so cool, even if you don't necessarily need the range for the way you use the bike. But it didn't arrive and wasn't available for quite a long time, and actually if you have it, it means you can only have soft luggage. I say only, but and you can't have the top box. So you've got to think through all these specification decisions, you know, when you choose the bike. So in the end, I decided to go for the top box, and that's the sort of best compromise for me. And of course you can see the performance seat as well. There's quite a lot to discuss about the seat and how you get on and off the bike, and how that interacts with the suspension setup and the ride height. Perhaps do that in a minute. What else have we got? Well, I've gone for the hand guards here, which are strengthened Andean alloy, and I've gone for these Rizoma mirrors. Yeah, I thought the little round mirrors that come with the bike aren't necessarily the nicest to look at. Whether you think these are any better or not is kind of up to you really, but what I like is the optical quality of the mirror. I mean, it really is amazing, and it's so solid, it never vibrates, not even a fraction of a millimetre. I mean, this one needs a clean this morning, but it's really an improvement and an upgrade as far as I'm concerned. So then, just looking at the dash, we've got the Rizoma fuel filler, and that means you need one of these little things here to open and close. I've got the accessory bar. I've got a Garmin sat-nav permanently on it. Now with the Multistrada V4s, you can mirror your phone onto the screen, and you can use Sygic sat-nav, but you don't have that with this facility, this bike, so put the permanent sat-nav on it. And you can see that I do a power takeoff from my phone as well, and I bought a clamp which goes onto the back of the phone case. So I've got all the gear, all the electronics facing me, so never a missed moment. Heated grips, absolutely essential riding up here in Scotland for, well, most of the time really, so that's a real boon. And I don't know whether I've missed anything. Oh no, that's right. Well, there's plenty to talk about with the stand and the Bigfoot, but I'll do that in a moment separately. Well, I said I'd forget something, and indeed I did. The LED indicators at the front and the rear are also a nice sleek addition, and they scroll, which I can show in a moment. And how could I forget radiator guard? Now I think this is essential on, well, frankly, any bike, particularly if you ride in a group. If you're always solo riding, maybe not, but in a group definitely, because stones that get flicked up, particularly where bikes like these are going, are quite likely to hit that radiator. We did a fantastic trip to Ireland in 21. Ducati Manchester are going again this year, I think. But one of the guys on the trip had his radiator hold, and that changed his holiday. So always recommend fitting a radiator guard. Well, a big topic for bikers is tyres, and I just want to point these tyres out. Pirelli Scorpions, and now they come with a bike, and as you can see, they've got quite a pronounced block tread pattern. Now I've ridden with a version of these tyres on my Multistrada V4. Frankly, I just like the look, but I was amazed at the performance. The Multistrada comes with a more road biased tyre than this, but I did 7,000 miles on that Multistrada. Okay, 2 sets of rear tyres in that time, but I was just always amazed at the performance of that tyre. Any temperature, wet or dry, just the surety of feel and the confidence that you have really any speeds, but also tipping into corners, you know, in any of those conditions. And you kind of wonder how they do it, because there's obviously less tread in contact with the ground, but obviously through the design and the compound and all the R&D they do, it just gives a really wonderful road-like feel. You kind of don't know that you're riding on these tyres. So if you like the look, there's no compromise. And of course, when you do get on the gravel or on the Nadgery bits, you've got a tyre that will grip just that bit better than a road tyre in the conditions. What's the compromise? Well, they don't last as long. You know, I've got 3,000 miles on this one, and whilst it's not at its wear bars yet, it's probably in the post after 4. Certainly I'm going to do a trip later in the year, in June, to France and Spain, and I'll definitely put a new rear tyre on before doing that trip. Just talking about touring and trips at Ducati Glasgow, and actually throughout the Ducati Manchester group, ride outs and organised trips are a big feature of what we do with customers and what we lay on for them. We have a massive amount of fun ourselves, and also I think the guys that come on the trips really enjoy it. I think Manchester are in Ireland, Scotland and Germany this year, and Andrew and I are running this trip through France, Andorra and Spain, where we've arranged to hook up with Ruben's house for lunch in Andorra. It's in June, last week of June into early July. And Ian Simpson, the former TT winner and Supersport legend, is going to be our tour guide for that. And in fact, you can just see Ian's sticker there, and that's from last September, when he took us on an amazing tour of the borders down into Ayrshire, on roads that, you know, you kind of would never find yourself. And again, this sort of bike, this kind of adventure style bike, is just the perfect tool for that kind of job. So we'll do the start of the bike. You can see the dash firing up. Also my sat nav. So from cold, see those scrolling indicators. smile anyway. That's a smile on my face.
Ducati Manchester Group.